All right, this is John Krasinski. Dominic Campbell's with me here, Pittsburgh Soccer Now for Pittsburgh Sports Live. We are post-match reaction from the Getaway Bar and Grill here over in Brookline area. It was a pretty interesting match, wasn't it? The United States, the first 45 minutes, it was all U.S. They were on the front foot. They didn't really produce a lot of shots, Dom, but they were on the front foot. They really had all, like 68% possession. They got the goal. Tim Weah, looked terrific in the first half, but it just felt like they really didn't get the stranglehold on the match that they really needed to.
Yeah, I mean, those first 45 minutes, I think Wales had one shot, and if you're the U.S., you want to be a bit more clinical than that. But I mean, they managed to get their goals, so I mean, you can't say they weren't clinical at all. I mean, that goal from Pulisic, really good weighted run by Tim Weah. He runs right through, and it's a really good shot, great finish, and it gives them a 1-0 lead. But I think we all knew once the second half came around, they were going to change things up. And Rob Page is a pretty solid manager for Wales to get them through to the World Cup in the first place. And I'm pretty sure he said, we got to get it together. What are we doing? Because they were hardly attacking. And then the second half comes around, they're on the front foot. The U.S. sits back, and eventually Wales get that chance and they get that penalty kick. So unfortunate ending, but I suppose a fair 1-1 draw in the end. Yeah, that's what I have to say, at least overall, my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now the United States is in position. They're in position if they could get a result against England, they'll be in pretty good shape. And they're absolutely going to have to win, get 4 points. The way I see it, 4 points in the next 2 matches, or 3 at the absolute worst. If Wales loses and then somehow ties Iran, they could get that win against Iran, and they should be good.
Yeah, I mean, at least after what we saw England do to Iran today, you'd be saying, well, the U.S. can get that, but obviously USA-Iran, not the same thing as England-Iran, different history with different 2 countries, and if Iran's facing the U.S. in the final game, they need to do something. They're going to want to play the best they can, so it'll be a bit different, but yeah, if you're the U.S., you got to do something against, I think you really just need a draw against England. If you lose, you're in a really bad situation, you absolutely have to win. Not only do you get to beat Iran, you probably have to beat them by 3 goals, because if Wales goes up against them, I think they'll be confident, and they'll be like, well, we knew what we did wrong in the first game, we'll try to fix that in the second game, and they'll get some goals. But maybe Iran will come back and do something themselves, and in the U.S., you just got to take it game by game. But yeah, England's not going to be fun for the U.S. After what we saw today.
It's going to be an absolute difficult match, and not only that, we saw a lot of the U.S. players after this match. I mean, both sides, really, U.S. and Wales, were dragging, some players cramping up. It was very physical. I know the U.S. took a lot of fouls in the first half. A couple of yellow cards maybe, put them in a little precarious position. Those yellow cards definitely not something that was good. At the end of the day, though, the match ended up 15-10. U.S. took 5 more fouls than Wales. It felt like it was even more physical than that.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of yellow cards. I think some of the fouls are a bit ridiculous. I know people are like, little ref called it fouls, but I'm like, if you come from behind, you kick somebody, they're going to call that a yellow card most of the time. And especially if the referee's trying to get something under control early in the game, he doesn't want a game where people are just kicking the living crap out of each other. I mean, he's going to give those yellow cards, and you really don't want players like McKinney and Dest, and I mean, Bream has a yellow card as well. It's not what you want, because you don't want them suspended, especially for that final game. It's really not a good thing to do for your main starters, right? So yeah, I mean, pretty physical game. Both sides really wanted it, so you're not surprised to see a high number of fouls at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that first half, though, thinking about the starting lineup for the U.S., Gio Reyna was not in there, and then they wasn't even used as a sub. So there's some people out there questioning, was Reyna even healthy for this match? We don't know. I will say it will be nice to have a completely healthy Reyna if he's available against England. I think that would be maybe that's something Greg Berhalter was thinking ahead, but that's a possibility. But still, this match. And this match, the starting 11, though, what were your thoughts on the way they kind of constructed the lineup? You said there were very few surprises, maybe except for Josh Sargent maybe.
Yeah, that was about it, really. I thought, not surprising to see Anthony Robinson and Dessa, the wing backs, right back, left back position. Center back, Zimmerman and Reem, not too surprising, although Reem has not played for the U.S. in local qualifying since last October. With his form and him being in the Fulham side, along with Anthony Robinson, it's really hard to not have those players starting. And yeah, Sargent really is the only player I'm surprised by. I guess Reyna not starting is a surprise, but again, we know his health history has not been great, at least in recent times. Yeah, I mean, Sargent did all right, nothing noteworthy, I would say, but he was fine, I guess. Didn't do anything like terribly wrong. Didn't miss like a huge chance, really. But he did all right. I felt like the strength of the U.S. was really in the midfield. Tyler Adams and West Virginia were fantastic most of the game. USMNT did fine as well. And even with Kellen Acosta coming on, I mean, we look at the yellow card he gets. It's probably one of the better yellow cards you'll ever get as a professional player. I mean, and Matt Turner's about 20 yards outside of his goal, and
Matt Turner comes way out, and Gareth Bale has the ball, and he's inside the midfield line. I don't care who you are, you're taking that foul.
Yeah, I mean, he probably makes that goal, and if he scores that, I think it would just destroy the U.S. team's momentum. I think really big foul just to get a point. You need that point. But yeah.
Yeah, Carly Lloyd and Gareth Bale, those are two people you foul.
Yeah, you don't want to let those players shoot from long range near the halfway line.
We saw Pekovic make that shot too.
Yeah, we
for
seen
Pitt.
that.
I mean, there's it's late in the match, and there's 9 minutes of stoppage time. You mentioned that FIFA probably this time around is giving a little bit more, and we've noticed that through the first 4 matches, that they're giving a little bit more stoppage time at the end, especially at the end of the game, in the regulation.
Yeah, I mean, they've been trying to implement for a while, time wasting, not just at the games when people are like throwing the ball around. It's more like in the middle of the match. How long are players waiting to do free kicks or throw-ins, or like how long are injury times taking? And they're using different systems to more accurately measure that time. So we're seeing times of like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like way longer than the usual 3 or 4 or 5 minutes we're used to seeing. And that's really taking a toll on these players. Like, I understand what they're trying to do with these longer times. I think it's a good idea. At the same time, when it comes to knockout stages, what happens then? Are you playing like 50, 60 minutes, like extra time, like added on, like 2 10-minute extra time periods, and then you have your 2 15-minute periods. I mean, that's just a lot of time, but these players just got to keep playing. If they know it's going to be, as long as it is right now, I think they're going to have to switch things up, and I think players will, because I don't think players want to be playing 10 minutes of extra time when the game's on the line. I don't want to do that.
So at the half, the U.S. had a 3-1 shots advantage, and they had 1 shot on frame. At the end of the match, they ended up with 1 shot on frame. So 6, Wales ended up with a 7-6 shots edge, and 3 of theirs were on frame. I thought Matt Turner, all things being said, obviously gave up the goal, but I mean, Gareth Bale, in a penalty kick situation, the whole world's watching, and he absolutely fired a complete missile right into the upper right corner there, and Turner guessed correctly. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a goalkeeper in the history of soccer that would have ever stopped that shot.
Yeah, there's none. I mean, Gareth Bale, I said coming into the match that, he's going to be a problem, and he might just get, all it takes is one moment, and really, that was it. A really clumsy foul on him by Walker Zimmerman. Again, a player that people have concerns about just not being a top quality. Again, some people are a bit negative on the MLS, but he's the main MLS player in the squad right now, really, starting, and he makes a terrible mistake. And it was a foul, and Gareth Bale is one of the best players of a generation. Obviously, not as good as he's been, but still, on his day, you're going to give him a penalty kick, he's going to score it. And Matt Turner made some great saves today. Arsenal substitute goalkeeper, so backup goalkeeper, but he's really brilliant today. I do think that header at the end of the match was a bit dodgy, but I mean, he did come out and he did get the ball. But he did pretty well. I mean, he did pretty well for a start. I mean, obviously we're used to seeing the Howards, the Brad Guzans, and the Brad Friedels, those players that were really, really great U.S. goalkeepers, but now it's time for players like Matt Turner and others to really try to take that #1 spot. And Turner is doing that really well right now. So credit to him for doing pretty well today, especially when Wales were starting to pick it up in the second half.
Yeah, and I just one note on to Walker Zimmerman. I mean, again, I thought he was in the right position. He didn't have to stick his leg underneath and try to do something else. The ball's in the box. You've got to be careful. Like that's, I hate to say it like that, but it feels like defending 101. Especially against a threat like Bale. You stand him up, you keep the ball in front of you, make him pass it off, make him beat you some other way, but he has his back to you. I just don't think that foul is necessary. But all right, so heading into the last thing really I wanted to address is it's a 4-3-3 with the U.S. They're going to play it.
Yeah.
That's what Berhalter likes, and going with 4 in the back. But like you said, the midfield, Tyler Adams, I just thought, if you look at one performance today, when things got nervy there in the middle in the second half especially, but even moments in the first half when the U.S. was maintaining and keeping the ball, knocking it around, Tyler Adams was orchestrating everything. And, in the tradition of Claudio Reyna, in the tradition of Michael Bradley, I really like what he brings to this, sitting here at the table, literally brings to the table.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fantastic player. He's he and Aronson, Brendan Aronson, he played for Leeds United under American head coach Jesse Marsh. If you're a Riverhounds fan, I'm pretty sure you might have seen Adams or Aronson play against the Riverhounds and the New York Red Bulls 2 team. So he's been around Pittsburgh. Yeah, I mean, really great player. Just he's had experience at Leipzig and Germany at the Champions League level. He's played against really tough opponents. I wouldn't say Wales are the best opponents ever.
Sure.
But it's a big moment. He knows what it's like to be in his moments. He knows what it's like to fail, because the last time he was at Leipzig in the Champions League, he didn't do well. So he knows what to do. He knows how to control the game and do really well from that center midfield position. And he'll continue to get better. I mean, that's a player you think will be one of the better midfielders in your 2026 team, but he's doing it really well right now. It's a really encouraging sign here at U.S. Men's National Team.
Yeah, and like I said, that 4-3-3, to play that 4-3-3 with McKinney, and Adams there, that group, I think that in young players and having a 19-year-old as well there in the middle, that only bodes well that this team is the core down the middle of this team. I think, and I just thought they were fantastic, and especially in the first half, but under pressure too in the second half. And I think it's a good thing that you could sign, it's a good sign for the U.S. team now. Can it get them out of this group right now and beating England, getting a result against England would be massive. Any result against England would be massive, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be, but I just don't think they'll play like Wales. I mean, England scored 6 goals today. Now, granted, Iran did not do very well defensively, but I don't think the U.S.'s weakness is that defense. And I was so surprised when we watched that first half. Wales just didn't do anything. They hardly pressed. And I thought the second half they got it right. They should have been doing that from the beginning. And they probably might have won the game if they did that from the beginning.
Right.
This isn't like a knock against Zimmerman or Ream or like Robinson or Jets. It's just we know defensively the U.S. is weaker. They're a better attacking team, and that's fine. But I think we've seen in the last few World Cups that the best defensive teams are usually the ones that win. So you're playing against the England team that aren't terrible defensively. They are weak at times defensively, but they're so good on the attack. I mean, it's really scary to see Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling and Mason Mount and Jack Grealish come off the bench and Marcus Rashford come off the bench and score goals. And the U.S. doesn't have that on the bench, and that's a really worrying sign. But obviously, I think the U.S. players will be ready for that game. It's rivalry game, I guess you want to call it. And it should be a good game, but I'd be worried if I was a U.S. men's national team fan. I think it's a little bit better than the U.S. are right now.
All right, well, Dominic, thanks for joining me here at the Getaway Bar and Grill. We'll be back on Friday for more at the Getaway Bar and Grill. We hope you can join us down here or join us post-game again. We'll be doing post-game reaction shows just like this one. And look forward to, really, it's going to be a great World Cup. Today, 3 games, 4 tomorrow, really gets going. But yeah, again, thanks for joining us on Pittsburgh Sports Live for the World Cup recap and reaction show.